Good morning. This is Steve Hoffaker. Welcome to another one of our professional development webinars free of charge to people in the aging in place industry. It's our way of giving back. This morning we have a friend of the industry, Belk, who's going to be talking to us about mental health, dementia. Ellen's been with us a couple times in the past. Happy Thanksgiving to all of you in the States. That's an important holiday coming up in a couple of days. And I just want to let you all know as well that for 2024, my calendar is out. As of now, we're still able to add some dates, and Ellen and I were talking about adding some things as we go along. I think I have 167 caps and universal design and some other specialty classes like the Beyond Your Caps and so forth already published. So you can go to my website and check those out and sign up for it. People have already been signing up for those dates. So without any other delay, we'll turn our program to Ellen and hear what she has to say. Ellen, take it away.
Well, thank you. It's like you're welcoming me home, Steve, because I think this is my third opportunity in front of your tribe, which for everyone who's either both on the line with us and or who will be listening to this later, as I know many others do, this is a huge treat for me to have this established relationship now with Steve, because I met Steve by attending his universal design course and then loved him in person. Remember those days, Steve, when we were back
Yes.
in the day? You were here in Charlotte, North Carolina at a little storefront of a vendor provider who had some cool stuff for age in place. And then I took your specialty extended course as well of universal designs. I haven't gone caps yet. I'm very consumed in my dementia world, but really truthfully, I always align with your tribe. So and so those that are also on here who know you and have taken courses with you, they will probably sense that I am a little bit of a disciple of your methodology of maintaining safety in the home as we age. So here we go, guys. I appreciate everyone that's online with us today. And again, for those that will see this later, if you're listening on audio, as many do, hopefully you're in the right place and you are here for safeguarding strategies to support older adults living with dementia in their home. I apologize, long title. I might have been a little sleepy when I sent that in to Steve, but uh, but nonetheless, I promise I will not put you to sleep. That is typically anyone who knows me. It's hard to fall asleep when Ellen Belk is talking. So who am I? Very quickly, it's why I use a lot of visuals. Be prepared for that. I am a person that uses a lot of visuals, especially in topics like what we're talking about today. These are just some of the brands that I have worked for professionally in 2020. As we circle into 2024, I will be starting my 23rd year as a leader in the senior living is in senior living, although now I am consulting. But for 21 of those, years, I have worked on the inside of many of these brands that people are familiar with in the long-term side of professional caregiving. I am now again I'm a board certified dementia expert. I do a lot of online teaching. I will tell you, we can reference that at the end of my presentation today. But today I really am leaning into my holistic dementia expertise. And that will make sense as we move forward, because one of the four pillars of my holistic philosophy in kind of proactively staying in front of engaging with those living with cognitive decline is through the environment. It is one of my four pillars of what we need to non-pharmacally pay attention to as we are supporting those in our, those loved ones or those in our inner circle with cognitive decline. So that's part of my holistic dementia expertise that I will be flexing today. These are just some brands that our clients or people that I have worked with in like I said, almost 23 years. And I am an entrepreneur, so I am the founder of Keep in Mind. You can see these are things that fall under my brand. We have a very specific color scheme that I employ, but I do draw your attention to the lower left if you are seeing this on online. And it is the Kim Academy. Kim is just, my name is Ellen, but Kim is the acronym for the parent company, Keep in Mind. And the Kim Academy launched in 2022. And the goal of the Kim Academy is where I do online, on demand dementia training. We'll be posting, it's an evergreen, ever growing product right now, but it is a place where we are elevating the global dementia IQ one student at a time. And so, Steve, this is where it also starts here today. We're going to elevate the global IQ of those that will be, joining us at either now or later in perpetuity on your platform as well. I shared all my professional stuff with you just so that you understand I'm not a random person that Steve met in the subway. I really am a professional that does live, professionally I've, influenced operators and those living with dementia and those that care for them in professional settings across this country, thousands and thousands at this point. But my most prized credential, in my opinion, is I am a daughter caregiver as well. My beloved father, which is the picture here to the left, this actually sadly was the last picture ever taken of my dad and I. My dad already in this picture had a dual diagnosis of Lewy body and Parkinson's disease. And we were about 4 years into him after diagnosis. He was 82 when dad was diagnosed. He got that dual diagnosis of Lewy body and Parkinson's dementia. They had their own unique qualities, but we were able to successfully support my father in the home that he shared with my mother. This is her up here. For 4 years, almost 4.5 actually, before his life journey ended. And I'm so very proud of that. So some of the things, and this is long before I met Steve Hofferger. So the things that I will be talking about today are not only things that professionally I am very attuned with of the care environment in a professional setting. I'm equally as well versed and passionate about the care environment in a home-like setting, because also, just as a little sidebar statistic, 80% of all dementia care. Now, remember, dementia is my lane. Whether you're currently touched by dementia, someone you're caring for someone who's touched by dementia, or you will find out over this holiday season. It's why we're doing this session today, as people are getting ready to disperse. Adult children and loved ones and family members will gather for all the various holidays we've got coming up between now and the new year. And you might start to notice that there is cognitive decline creeping in. So all of that to say, if you're not touched by it now, you either know somebody in your circle of influence, or you will be touched by cognitive decline in some fashion, as very soon, because the world is aging. But so I'm passionate about doing it because I've done it with my parents. And again, I will talk more about my mom, who was my dad's primary caregiver at that time during his life. My dad's journey ended in 2016, and my soon-to-be 95-year-old mother, this was taken in our home last year, and this is my husband, and she now lives closer to us in South Carolina here, but she is in an assisted living care environment. And again, I will bring her up as we move forward, as I share some examples of of our experience. So our objectives today, real quick, are pretty simple. You are going to see a lot of pictures. I will be talking over because I just think I can't talk about environments or supportive things. It's better for me, and I do believe I teach a lot. It's what I do, and I do believe we as adult learners tend to need more visual stimulation to back up the verbal and the written word as well. So I'm going to really be, my goal here is to provide you all with tangible examples of how to evaluate the home environment, and proactively, please get that word in your brain. You are going to hear me say this a lot. Nowhere do we have the greatest opportunity to proactively support, meaning in advance of a crisis, is no other place do we have the ability to be so proactively diligent, is other than within the home environment. And again, 80% of all dementia care is delivered in home settings. And when I say home in that application, I mean in personal, private homes. Again, I've already indicated I'm on the professional side there. Now my clients, but I was on the inside of professional senior living care, most notably dementia care. And I would work with our operators there. I would work with our salespeople. We are only caring for 20% of the population that could be using our services. Most people want to stay at home. Raise your hand if I'm in this industry and I want to stay at home. Most of us want to do that. So what I'm talking about today, what we're going to focus on today, is that 80% of people who are staying in their own home. I want us to review interior areas of the home for both the less than desire. You're going to see pictures that are both less than desirable, and then I will follow up with a little more of an optimal perspective as it pertains to safety. Again, safety being the key. If the goal here for all of us, my goal for you, and my goal in my presentation, and hopefully you're on board with, is how do we safely support our elders, aging bodies in our universe, who may or may not, I'm going to talk a lot about dementia, but the road to dementia could have, it's got a long runway. It could. So there could be some other physical, concerns that predate the cognitive, that make the issues that may or may arise later in life. So we want to safely, proactively protect our aging bodied and our friends with cognitive decline, specifically in their home setting. And then, of course, I've got some ideas, some product ideas. I think it's, I can't just sit here and verbally vomit all kinds of thoughts on you without, sharing some products that I've specifically used that I'm very familiar with, and some other suggestions of other aids, product aids to support you safeguarding the home. So let's continue. Before we do get started, this is absolutely not Steve. I have done this on Steve's platform before, where I've done it twice. You can either come to my website. I know Steve has archives of previous webinars of all sorts, but I've done two others on this platform, on Steve's platform, that specifically are designing a home space for dementia, where I get a lot more into the nuances of carpet selections and things like that. That's and why that matters as the dementia and the aging bodies that inhabit the space. Why is that important for them? That's not what this is. This is really, today my goal is to kind of get it into your brain, and I will, as to what you're looking for in a home environment. It may not be at all dementia friendly, and that's okay. It may not be set up for success at all when you go visit your Uncle Fred for Thanksgiving. But this is an opportunity. I'm going to show you how to kind of visually assess what Uncle Fred is living in, as you also may or may not, through your time with him over the holidays, recognize that there's some deficits that are appearing that weren't there before. And those are the things that now you start to proactively think about. Okay, I'm seeing some things in Uncle Fred. We love him dearly. He's our patriarch. We're going to rally around him, and I'm going to lead the charge as to how we can support Uncle Fred for as long as possible in his home. So that's kind of what the goal of this process is. But I always do, to get you understanding a little bit. I would not be a dementia expert if I didn't sprinkle in a little bit about dementia on the front end, so that I can kind of put a little bit of a ribbon around the why as we move forward. So again, this is not a dementia course specifically, but on this particular slide that I'm showing, I show it all the time. I show it with my professionals. I show it with families. I show it on this platform. This is the third time Steve is seeing it. Why? Because we all need to understand how amazing the brain is. We talk about, protecting and eating right and this and that, all things that we must do. But why I like to show this is because, especially as we move forward and I talk about the why of certain things within the environment, it's important to know that when cognitive decline starts to happen, you technically, for the most part, do get a pretty decent runway if you're paying attention. For example, what am I talking about? You just saw Uncle Fred last year. You were all out in the backyard of his, wonderful farm that he lives on in upstate New York, where you all gather for Thanksgiving and you were all playing baseball in the backyard as a family after you ate your turkey. Fast forward to this year, you're excited to see Uncle Fred. No one can, again, he's the patriarch of your family. You all gather, and when you show up in upstate New York on Thanksgiving, where he's supposedly waiting for you, and he's wearing, and there's snow on the ground, and you all are bundled up because it's been a cold, it's a cold November in upstate New York, and Uncle Fred answers the door in a tank top and his boxer briefs. Okay, probably something that, instead of us laughing and, freaking out, it is a notation that there's possibly a change of condition going on here. So what, and it's important to kind of, that's one example, but let's look at the brain. As I look at the left side of this particular slide, I want us to focus on these last four for today's conversation. On the left side of a healthy brain, all of us, we all share this in common. Within the left side of our healthy brain, and brain in general, is where our objectivity is stored, is where our analytical thought processes are stored. Our logic is on the left side, and again, our reasoning. So logically, we know in a healthy brain, when I'm expecting, as my husband and I are expecting, we host Thanksgiving, we're expecting family to come here. I don't live in upstate New York, but I certainly know even here, I will not be answering the door for my guests in a tank top and my boxer briefs. So something's not quite right there. Logically, we should, it could be a multitude of things. That's why we shouldn't panic. Uncle Fred could have a UTI. That needs to just be taken care of. He could be dehydrated, but it's something that is a key that something else might be going on here. So let's switch to the right side. Subjectivity, synthesizing, emotion and face recognition. But for, again, today's conversation, I want us to focus on the subjectivity and synthesizing. And not for nothing, I've given this presentation, and in other applications, I'm focusing on the top elements of this particular slide. So for today, I knew I needed to be, as I'm possibly speaking to people who are families or loved ones or interested people of understanding what should we be doing in the home, I wanted to look the word up, synthesizing, and it's the gathering of multiple abstract information to form an opinion. So in the real world, if Paula Mueller, who's on this call, if she and I were at a museum in Washington, D.C., and we were walking through the museum, and I loved a particular picture, and Paula just could not understand, like, no, I don't, why does Ellen like that painting? I think it's awful. Well, her synthesizing of the various colors, or the way it's her brain is seeing the art in real time, it's not working for her. Maybe I'm more drawn to the colors in that painting, and that's, again, I'm taking what's the multiple things that on that painting that I'm seeing, and I'm deciding whether I like it or I don't, whether I understand it, or I'm forming an opinion on that. And so, again, just keep these things in mind as we as we move forward about how someone may or may not be being successful in their own home. I'm going to go real quick through here, but just to give you an overview of the top 4 types of dementia. Alzheimer's disease is not a synonymous word with dementia. Alzheimer's disease is the #1 type of diagnosed dementia. And why am I showing this again? I want us to focus here on, again, the last couple of key points here. In Alzheimer's, it typically is a slow progressive disease. It's why when we start to notice things on the front end, you guys, we could have years of success in someone's home environment if we just make the modifications that are necessary to support this person as they progress through their journey. And there will come a time in the Alzheimer's continuum where they will decline in their ability to make reasonable decisions, judgments. Have they eaten? Where do I go to eat? Just keep these things that I'm saying in mind, they will become applicable as we move forward. They might struggle with the routine. What I'm up now. Where do I go? What do I do? No one's here to tell me what I do. So again, these are things that are, if you're starting to see that, if Uncle Fred, he welcomes you, once you guys all get him dressed and you're now trying to figure out how this Thanksgiving is going to go, and he's unclear why you're there. Okay, again, more red flags that possibly something else is going on here, and we need to really make sure Uncle Fred is seen by somebody and we can get see what's going on here. Other things, again, these other top, I'm only showing the top four types of diagnosed dementia. Remember, Alzheimer's disease being number one. Vascular is another close second. There's going to be, again, you'll see a little pattern in some of these. Difficulty deciding what to do next. Remember that sequential thinking. So sometimes when there's too much stuff in a house or there's too much clutter, not only is it a safety issue, but it can just be completely overwhelming for people who are struggling to, keep things intact and to understand what to do next in their daily routine, things that we take for granted. Again, your home environment needs to work for that. Lewy body dementia. Again, I told you that touched my life. I will show you pictures from what we did to make my dad's bedroom be safe, because there are sleep issues and disturbances that are the benchmark of a Lewy body type of dementia. Up and down, they think it's nighttime when it's daytime. There's day-night orientation issues. So I point that out again because I will make reference to this as we move forward, as I'm talking about the care environment. Frontal temporal lobe. This is where I do want to make a mention of my mom. I did mention that during the height of the pandemic, my mother and my father, as I was providing care for them, I was doing that from long distance for many years. I told you my dad was 82 when he was diagnosed with with Lewy body and Parkinson's. My mother, his wife, of 62 years at the end of his life, she was 83. So she was his primary caregiver, completely intact cognitively at that time, but obviously she was 83. And so there was a lot of support. I was supporting two people. Fast forward to now, she has moved here. And in about the last year, I already started to notice it. And again, this isn't a dementia specific presentation, but out of context for what will move forward and other examples I will share, I did start to notice, I started to be, suspicious that there was frontal lobe damage with my mom in varying things that were going on. And sure enough, I did have her tested twice now by a geriatric psychiatrist. And I'm being told from an actual expert who laid hands on her that there is frontal lobe deterioration. She still walks and takes care of herself, dresses herself. She is a zero level of care at the assisted living, mercifully. So it's a different journey. She will be 95 in January. All of us, my brain does, I thought today was Wednesday when I was talking to my husband, and I'm in my mid-50s. So all of our brains age, obviously. It doesn't mean we're going to be, dementia is not specific to just age. It's part of aging, but everyone who ages doesn't have it. But it doesn't stop us from having some various issues and some hiccups in parts of our brain as we age. So I mentioned that, I am a holistic dementia care solutions expert. This is my 4-pillar philosophy. I lead with this. I lead with these as non-pharma first interventions. Am I opposed to medication? Not 100%. Those who know me well, some on this webinar have heard me speak about how over medicated our elders in general are. Also, we should know that there is very few medications that were Aricept being the most notable, and Namenda and Exelon are the only 3 medications in the market space. Yes, there is a brand new one that just came in the last year, but it's like, it might as well be $10 million a pill. It's so cost prohibitive. So I kind of ignore that one because I'm a person that lives in the everyday life and we can barely afford our groceries right now. But the 3 other medications that I referenced, those are the only 3 medications, that the Exelon, Namenda, and Aricept, that were specifically created in the laboratory for cognitive decline, Alzheimer's, dementia, and other types of dementia. We did have my dad on an Exelon patch in the last year of his life. Again, because the sleep disturbances, he has to get his sleep, and so it did have an impact not just for sleep, but it did have an overall wellness in low dose on my dad in a patch form at the end of his life. So I'm not opposed to it, but for today, of my 4-pillar philosophy, which actually recognizes environment, communication, how are we speaking with people, nutrition and engagement, how are we keeping people active? Yes, people in wheelchairs with cognitive decline can still be kept active in a modified way that is safe and appropriate for them. But for today, I'm going to be focusing most notably in our conversation on the environment and nutrition. All right, folks, here we go. Let's start evaluating the home environment. What does that look like? Okay, again, remember, we're setting the stage. We're going to visit Uncle Fred or insert family member here. And I am also going to kind of give you a little bit of an apology on the front end. And I am, as Steve knows, and anyone who's ever heard me speak, maybe you've already determined in the time we've been together, I'm very passionate person about what I speak about in my lane of dementia safety and education and support and advocacy. But I apologize in advance because I'm going to be showing you things as to how to assess the environment. Remember, I can't go anywhere now. My poor husband, we go out to eat at a restaurant and I'm like, oh, these menus suck. This would be awful for someone with dementia. Like, I cannot unsee everywhere I go all the ways that our world is not designed to support, number one, aging bodies in general, which is crazy because we're about to have nearly 30% of the population in a very short amount of time, in less than 10 years, be 65 or older. So the fact that our world is not aging friendly, and it certainly is not friendly from a cognitive decline perspective. And the reason this bothers me so much is because, seriously, it's not uncommon to have years. You have years of a runway. Even my dad at 82 got that diagnosis. It wasn't life ending. He had 4.5 more years. You guys, I was still taking him to Trader Joe's and he was pushing the cart while I was grocery shopping. We were still living out loud a couple 2 years into that diagnosis until it became an issue that, of course, from a dignity and an advocacy perspective, we started to shrink his world a little bit. But for a couple 2-3 years, we were still living out loud, and we want people to do that from their home environment. So again, now after today, I promise you, I'll be curious to know. You can always reach out to me and say, okay, thank you. I cannot not think about safety anywhere I go in my world now. But from a perspective of going to visit our loved ones at the holiday, from the moment you exit your vehicle, start to look at what you're seeing. Are you seeing cracked, driveways where this is a fall risk? Now you're saying, well, Ellen, aren't we talking about people with dementia? I don't know. You guys are going to be figuring that out as you try to see what's going on with Uncle Fred. Uncle Fred could still be driving. So if Uncle Fred is driving up this driveway and he could be very much on the front end, anyone in general, again, you have a long runway when you get in front of and you do your investigation early of the things that you're noticing. It's kind of like the old saying, see something, say something. If you're seeing something or feeling something that doesn't feel quite right with your elder, as you're interfacing with them over the holidays, that's when, don't wait on it until next Christmas. Start to investigate now. But we want the exterior of the home to be safe. If I'm seeing cracks, even if I'm going to somebody who is perfectly intact, still balancing their checkbook, but walks with a walker, this driveway would freak me out. I would ask all of our family members to gather the money and let's get grandma a new driveway here. Exterior porches, decks, things of that. This is an image of a highly unsafe situation for a variety of reasons. Why should we care? Well, because let me tell you something. If Uncle Fred, I'm going to continue to use that as the thread throughout here, him as our example. We want Uncle Fred to be able to get outside. Even if this was a usable porch that was safe where he wouldn't fall through the wood or slip off the side here because it's too open, he could have a chair out here where he could sit with his golden retriever and have morning coffee. That's part of being proactive for Uncle Fred. Yeah, he might have some early cognitive decline. We're going to keep an eye on that. But while we're keeping an eye on that, we want him to still be able to engage with his living environment. And the living environment includes the exterior spaces as well. We want people to get outside. Let me just put my holistic hat on. From a holistic perspective, we want fresh air. We sleep better at night when we get fresh air. Of course, there's vitamin D. Nothing beats the natural 15, 20 minutes a day of natural sunlight hitting our skin. Nothing beats that. You can take all the vitamin D and zinc tablets you want. Maybe you need to do that, but get outside. And that's good for all of us, but especially those who are struggling with cognitive issues, and there may or may not be sleep issues that become part of their future journey. So we want their exterior spaces to be safe enough. So look at that. Do you see nails? This is an extreme example, obviously, but maybe you're just looking at the deck and you see that there's some nails that need to be pounded in. So when he walks out there with his bare feet, he doesn't step on a rusty nail. Maybe it just needs to be restained because it's chipping or whatever. Just be diligent, like it says. Eyes open, be alert, be a detective as you proactively, you know, pace the environment of where your loved ones are living. Now, these are optimal. This is, again, I realize I put this together, and as I kind of printed it all off, I'm like, you know what? I don't even enter the front door of my own place. We tend to come in through the garage, and I get that. So in this example, what I'm showing you, whether it's a front door, a side door, the idea is the same. We ideally want smooth approaches. Now, Steve might be saying or my OTPT people are like, oh, Ellen, we can't have that rug in front of that. That's a trip hazard. There may come a day if Uncle Fred, if he still can walk his dog and he's very physical, these welcome mats may not be this is all in the discerning process of it. But as he gets a shuffle gait later, absolutely. Gone goes we don't want the shuffle gait to be trying to navigate a loose, as you can see, these are not secured to the ground. These are loose doormats. So again, it's all relative. Trust me, you are in a never-ending assessment now. Every time you go visit Uncle Fred or anybody else, you're always going to be assessing. It's never-ending. So as his needs change, the environment needs to proactively change as well. But the things that I like about these, take the doormats out of it for a second in your mind. The things that I like is the smooth surface approach, no step approach. Obviously, we love this for universal design as well. I also am a fan of the lever of this type of a handle. You push down. It's not a doorknob. And remember, not only are our aging bodies possibly with cognitive decline, they might have arthritic situations as well. It's easier to push down on that door press as opposed to twisting twisting a knob. Again, simple things, good lighting. Whether it's where Uncle Fred enters from the garage, whether it's where he enters from his back porch, however Uncle Fred gets into the house, what is the approach like? What is the lighting like? What modifications and small tweaks could we make at the entry of the home that he uses the most? Just assess that and decide if it's if it's the simple fact of just right now at Thanksgiving, as you see, he's already shuffling. Maybe we get rid of the mat for right now until we figure out what else is going on. But it's nothing. These are proactive, holistic measures of trying to safeguard people in their home. I show these doors only for the purpose of, I'm a fan. I work with my professional providers as well. I believe that the environment in any living environment can support the wayfinding. Remember, I talked about as the logic, wanes, and as reasoning and synthesizing, people could get almost lost in their own home. Or as I'm coming home, if I'm gone for a walk, if I've exited the home, I just like vibrant image, vibrant colored doors. As how easy is this if we know Uncle Fred is still walking his golden retriever, it's part of his muscle memory routine. We want him to be able to do that, but we also want him to be safely able to find his way back home. And if he knows he's the blue door at the end of the block, that is something so simple that can help our elders be supported, by just knowing, especially if you live in markets where it's like here in the South, we got a lot of gun, shotgun houses, closely together, kind of salt boxy looking houses. Or if you're in, New York, and you've got row houses, they all kind of look alike. They all have the same structure. The brick is all the same. Just by simply identifying a door with a color, is literally, we call that, it's you're giving that person wayfinding support. Don't minimize or marginalize the efficacy of that. So now you're in the home. Of course, I'm giving you on purpose, the most major of examples. What's going on inside the home? When you guys were there last year at Thanksgiving with Uncle Fred and you were playing baseball outside, was his house well kept? Sure, maybe he's a widower and he might have his recliner, and the blanket on his recliner might have needed a washing, but if that's minimal. But does his refrigerator look like this, where he clearly is stuffing food into it, but he's not taking it out? Have things drastically changed? Was it, a couple of his baseball memorabilia boxes around his home last time you were there, and now it looks like he should be on the television show Hoarders? Obviously, things are changing. What are we going to do about that? How do we support? Let's focus, first of all, on our supportive solutions for nutrition. Remember, I articulated to you that my mother at the time of my dad's journey was 82, and he was 82. She was doing at his journey, in Lewy body. Again, this isn't a dementia specific, masterclass, but it's a tougher journey. It can be, for a variety of, very different than Alzheimer's, totally different part of the brain, but it has its own unique set of circumstances. One of the things that I did as a long distance care, and again, this is my world, I knew exactly what I was doing, because again, our family goal was to keep dad, mom. I had to keep an eye on my mom too. You have an 83-year-old caring for an 82-year-old. I was keeping an eye on both of them for different reasons. And it gets hard when she's having to help him more with his personal cares, and now she's got to feed him, and it's like, oh snap, what do I make? What do I have in the home? So one of the things I did as an adult child is I made regularly scheduled visits. I was 1,000 miles away. It was very but I did it for all the years, and I had a very regular routine. And when I was there, I would pack her freezer with a grocery shop for her, of course. I always eliminated, going back to the other, when my mom was maybe, I'm going back to the other slide here her refrigerator never looked like this, but you best be assured I was always looking. I would go every 3 months. And then obviously during emergencies, and I had the same routine. I would stack her up. She might not make it the whole 3 months with the things that I left behind, but I got a good runway on that. I always looked at her refrigerator inside when she wasn't there. Yes, never saw this, but I certainly saw some rotten potatoes or apples that should have been tossed out, or whatever they had eaten at some point in the past, and she must have forgot about it, and it was growing mold. I did see things like that along that 4.5 years. So ergo, that the first sign of that, probably on the first parrot that I saw was, past its prime, I then realized, okay, next visit, I'm starting with the support of making mealtime easier. I did a lot of the freezer meals, writing the instructions on them. This isn't a picture that I took, but very much like this upper picture, so that she thanked me the entirety of her journey with dad living at home, because just to be able to pull out a bag, plop it on the stove, it was a game changer for her. She didn't have to slice, cut, marinate. She was able to do it. Early on, before I went all in on the freezer meals, I would just slice and dice. My mom really was a good cook. She liked to cook. So early on, like in that right after his diagnosis, I would slice the onions, slice the celery, because I knew she would make something with it. She didn't need me to make the meal in those early days. So again, you have to discern what works best for your situation, understanding it will evolve. So down here we've got examples of just slicing and dicing and packaging that up, and that could be in the refrigerator. At some point, you might to meal prep 100%. Look how we're making the meal. That gets a lid on it. That goes into the refrigerator. Again, here's an example. I did stock the fridge. I would make soups. I did jars. I did that as well. So I would leave full meals and prepped things behind. Again, this is not a picture of them. This is a picture off the internet, but it's this, and I may not have done it to this degree, but these are simple solutions, especially when your loved one is on the front end. And if you can do it and support it, especially when they're in glass like this, they can warm that up in the microwave. Be mindful of that. If they can still navigate a microwave, if they can still toss ingredients on top of the stove, again, pick what's best for you. But just by doing, and a meal service, of course, if all else fails, having an actual meal service that they can either in a HelloFresh is the example I'm using here. This is one that they get the ingredients, but they still would have to prepare. And obviously, in the world of DoorDash and other things, you could just have delivery of food. But so do you in terms of what works for your application, but just understand getting in front of these things, you are helping proactively that person be able to stay nutritionally sound in their own home with a little extra support from you. This is going a little deeper. This is actually something already I have identified with my husband. We're in our mid-50s, and I already know that in a future home that we hope to build, when the interest rates aren't, 200%. Sorry, sidebar. I already know my husband and I have already talked about this. We absolutely will be integrating. There are both freezer and refrigerator drawers. I did type in freezer, but all I could get, no, there was no specific freezer, but these are refrigerator doors. I like these for a variety of drawers, excuse me. They are drawers that are refrigerated. I like these examples for a variety of reasons. Number one, I love the handles. It's a pull-out as opposed to a pushing. Remember, if I'm a frail elderly person as well, forget the cognitive decline. I mean, my husband and I have one of those massive stainless steel GE refrigerators in our home. It's got that suction cup where it's sucked in. I mean, I take it all for granted, but there might be some elders that have that type level of a refrigerator that's you're pulling that towards you as you're standing in front of it. And if that suction cup, release throws you off balance, good luck. So I like the idea of a pull-out drawer. I like that these drawer handles are large. The organizer daughter in me says to myself, I could put on here, I could attach something to the exterior of this drawer. This is the fruit drawer, down here. This is the beverage drawer. You get me? So we're labeling, this is, again, if you have the ability to improve and do some home improvements. Again, all will be cheaper than moving into long-term care. I just as full disclosure, because we're all friends now. My mother is a zero level of care, like I've already shared. We're close to sick. No, they're not helping her in any way, and she's making her own bed and everything. We're paying close to $6,000 a month in a private pay assisted living. So it's not cheap. You know what? I would almost venture to say installing refrigerator doors, getting hardwood. I like the smooth surface flooring as well. You might put you might even put 6 or 10,000 in that for those improvements. But it's not 6,000 a month. It's a $10,000 investment that could extend the life of your loved one by years in their home. Just another example. I do like the clear refrigerator. This is something that I wanted to add because my mom and again, remember, we've identified frontal lobe deterioration. He has a closed mini refrigerator in the apartment she lives in, the assisted living. Honey, if it's almost like out of sight, out of mind. She doesn't, I every time I go there, and hopefully my siblings aren't watching, but every time I go there, I have to go in her refrigerator because she's bringing like styrofoam things up from the dining room that she eats, and she's obviously going to a dining room. and she's from that generation that they don't throw away a breadcrumb. So she brings up that styrofoam, and every time I go over, if she doesn't finish a meal, and her refrigerator is filled, her little guy, and I just pull it out. You can tell the pizza's been there for 4 days, and she's not going to ever eat it. Out of sight, out of mind. Again, there's some deterioration there. And so I'm proactively trying to support that as well. Just some other examples. I do like glass front. The glass front, I'm showing you this because I would probably do this more if this one in particular has dishes, but why could this not be where you store the cereal or this again is you're trying to sequentially help somebody. Okay, this is where I might put a label that all that's really in here. I might focus on Fred's sequential ability. There are the cereal bowls. Over here are the 3 or 4, maybe 2 shelves of cereal options, granola. And then over here, we've got, the dinner bowl. And then over here, I might have some pasta. Or again, if he can still somewhat help, but he needs to visually see things. And then I can put reminder notes on here as to what's in this and what it's used for. You might get an extra 6 months of him being able to support himself. This is kind of random because I like the lever doors, and I know Steve talks about that in universal design. In interior homes, I like nice drawer pulls where a person can get their fingers or their hand around that and pull. And I like a lever door as opposed to the knob because it's just easier to just push down or up, however the lever goes. It's just an easier age friendly way to open doors. So as we move forward here, we're gonna look, the next things you start to see are my grand desire. If you take nothing away from what I'm about to say, Steve knows this because he's heard me speak on this before. Please eliminate the area rugs. Please don't, if you go to Uncle Fred, I don't care if he's probably just older and completely intact, multi-layered rugs on top of each other. Aging bodies in general should not have that. These are fall risks. Now you're also trying to prevent falls, which I'm going to give you some statistics on falls in just a second. So hold tight on that. But what necessities are in the home? Can we eliminate some clutter? Do we need 17 boxes of picture, photo albums? Could we take those photos and put them on a device that I will be showing you in a little while that eliminates the need. Listen, you don't have to throw them away. If it's a battle with grandma, that you don't throw them away. You take the 17 boxes and you tuck them in the attic or the garage or whatever, but you take those images and you upload them into a user-friendly device that I'll show you an example of where she can still reminisce and see. It's actually a way better solution because you're adding pictures to something that doesn't necessitate having boxes that I have to navigate around. Sturdy chairs, safe bathrooms. Again, we're on our way to trying to create a dementia friendly environment. So let's get to it. Again, if you've been with me before, you've heard this story. This actually is a picture that I took in the condominium home where my mom and dad were living at the time. This is after diagnosis now. This room looked different before before we got the official diagnosis. Dad already was having some movement issues there. And so I knew there was a bearskin rug that was on this. It was just a kind of a white, it had high pile. They had bought it on a trip to Yosemite. It was a prized possession of my mom. It represented that in their retirement, they were traveling and they were going places. She was buying tchotchkes and things and bibbles and bobs along the way. And the white air rug that was on here, it meant a lot for a variety of personal reasons. But we had to let that go. There had been a plushy little sofa thing over here that actually ultimately that was a love seat, and it actually ended up going to the bedroom that I'm about to show you because Dad needed overnight support. So we needed to give the overnight person, many times it was me. Occasionally it was another one of my siblings, but we also had to hire support. That sofa had a better use in the bedroom where my dad needed to sleep when he first came home from a very long hospital stay. And here's a stiff back chair with arms. Again, I'm going to just show you, we had to eliminate the things within the living environment that were either not going to work for us, or they were better suited somewhere else, like that love seat I referenced, because my parents always sat in these two recliners. But that bear rug absolutely had to go, because at one point, not only did dad have a shuffle gate, but then he had a rollator that he needed to use. So their engineered floors were very, helpful in that instance. Again, just another example, lever handles on, this is also from their home, lever handles on the door. I cannot take credit for that. When this condo, they built this. My mom asked for these, so God bless her. It was much easier. This chair was a very helpful though. Stiff back, good sidearms. This was the entrance to and from the home. Dad could sit here and take off boots. They did live in Wisconsin. It was winter, 9 months out of the year. So it's just having little touches of, again, a clean, easy floor. There was a low pile rug that was on this floor. We did take it up again with the idea that when he had that rollator, we bit the bullet on the fact that he would take his shoes off here, and mom, if his boots were wet or whatever, mom could come back again. She was able-bodied. She could wipe that up after the fact. But it was more important to remove the rug so that he could stay safe and it would not be a trip hazard, as opposed to worrying about having to wipe up the floor once in a while. The bedroom, the reason this was where my dad was sleeping. The only reason I show this is, again, very uncluttered, very minimalistic. There had been a dresser drawer here. Remember, I told you that my dad had Lewy body, dementia. There was a lot of up and down in the overnights. And so we removed, I wanted nothing, no impediment to impede his safe movement in the overnight at 2-3 o'clock in the morning, when he's getting out of bed, sometimes to go to the bathroom, sometimes to wander the condo. I removed any impediments that he might bump into. And so he had free reign to just, walk out and explore if his brain needed him to do that, which was often. I'm showing you some examples of just good chairs. Might we be able to, swap things out for Christmas gifts or holidays or presents in the future with grandmas and grandpas whose chairs are smoochy and cushy, and remember, we're losing abdominal strength as we age. We need strong, stiff arm chairs. We want our loved ones, regardless of where they are in their aging journey, to be able to push up safely from those chairs, because again, the fall risks are also what we're trying to minimize. We don't want them overly plush. We want them to be able to use this as holistically intervening for them, getting their furniture, paying attention to these details so that they can safely stand up and sit down, push up from those side rails, and then reach back for those side rails as I slowly lower myself into these chairs, holistically, proactively helping elongate a person's success in their home. I can't say it enough. I just like this picture for a variety of reasons. I talked about the day-night orientation that is indicative for sure of Lewy body, but it also is of Alzheimer's diseases where, well, we want as much natural light. This picture is kind of a quadruple effect. That's why I'm showing it. Lots of natural light. Good chairs. Granted, these are angled. I'm showing them because they are still stiff. There is a little angle there, but I still think this is a better chair to get up and out of. Smooth surface floors. Now, some of you might say, and I'm thinking of this right now as I'm looking at it, the OTPT people are like, oh, wait a second, Ellen, when you push up from that could slide backwards. So we might need to add some rubber stoppers on the bottom. That's in a thought. Again, you're always, like I said, you guys, you're never not going to stop seeing these things now. You're going to start evaluating environments for all the reasons I'm talking about. So I'm just catching that in real time because I'm telling you, I cannot shut my brain off. I clearly shut the brain off when I selected this photo, but as I'm looking at it now, I'm all of a sudden my brain is like, wait, if they push up from that on a slick surface with no carpet, that might slip. So all of a sudden I'm like, no problem. I'll stick something a little more adhesive on the bottom so that doesn't move. Problem at least solved for a little while. I do like the large clock. So again, orientation of time and day can be helpful as we again try to keep people safe in their home. I keep mentioning falls, and here it is. These are just minor, a smattering of statistics I could give you on falls, but the top three that I thought were apropos for today. Each year, 3 million older adults are treated in the ER due to falls. I will tell you that is where my dad's journey actually began. My dad's what ultimately turned into our dementia diagnosis um, began with a fall, rising from the toilet in the primary bath of their home, that home that I just showed you, and a trip to the ER. It changed our life forever because of what they did to him in the ER. He walked and talked into the ER to say that he had fallen off the commode, and that's a whole another story for a different day. If you follow me on LinkedIn or follow me in any way after this, you'll get to hear more backstory and why, again, I'm so passionate. Because when your loved one goes to the ER and they come back a shell of themselves, you will trust me when I tell you, getting some pull-out drawers or doing some adjustments to the home, meal prepping. You want to avoid the falls. You want to protect their environment as much as possible so that they don't end up in the ER. 800,000 patients a year are hospitalized because of a fall injury, and every second of every day. Think about this. Think about how many people have fallen since we've all been together on this webinar. Suffer a fall in the United States, making falls the leading cause of injury and death in the age group of 65 and over. Don't believe me? These come straight from the Centers for Disease Control website. So, you guys, can you imagine? Everything we've talked about for a variety of reasons we can just simply prevent the falls and the hospitalization. We're winning as we advocate for our elders. Okay. This image just clearly speaks for itself. And if you're not sure, I made the no very, very pronounced. I mean, I'm even agitated this, and I don't have a shuffle gait. I wouldn't want this. I mean, these are extreme, of course, examples. Layered rugs, fringe, things that move that could slip under if I'm wearing slippers as I get up in the morning with my bathrobe. This could be slippery just if my foot touches that the certain way. No, 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 no to layered rugs. That's all I can say on that one. The bathroom. I've given you the statistics on we just looked. Let's go back just to refresh. I've given you the not so fun facts on falls and all the ways that people are encountering the ER and hospitalization due to a fall. I shared already my story. My story began in the bathroom. The majority of falls with elders does emanate from the bathroom, getting up and down from the toilet, coming out of the shower. The floors are slick. There's area rugs that are moved, that when you step on them, they slide. The bathroom, if you do nothing else when you go visit Uncle Fred, assess the safety of the bathroom. If your loved one is later, like in their journey, maybe a simple sign of where the bathroom is that could be put on if you're helping support grandma who's supporting grandpa who's already in dementia, your family already knows that, but you still gather with grandma and grandpa because it's your tradition, but grandpa's getting further in his journey. Let's put a sign on the door that he at least know if that's appropriate. There's lighting that can happen. You guys, I could do an entire masterclass on this, and hopefully will someday. We're getting close to the end of our time, Steve. I'm going to go a few minutes over, but I'm just scratching the surface here on things. Sidebars on both sides of the toilet. You guys, think about it when you go to an airport or anywhere USA. There's always some stupid, almost out of reach metal bar that if you have to reach out and try to hoist yourself up, you're already off balance. We want people to have the ability to use their body weight to step. I'm a fan of bars on both sides. And here's just an example of, you got a grandma or an aunt who's a little snooty and she doesn't want to make it obvious that they all need help. Well, then let's give her some decorative grab bars. It's a towel rack next to the toilet area, or it's somewhere near where if the toilet was over, again, if you're looking at this picture, I could maybe grab this part of it, this part of the bar. I can reach that while I just need a little hoisting up, and it's also decorative and it's a towel bar as well. I'm a fan of this. As a person now, I am actually now assisting my mother in her showers. I actually wish where she lived had this bar. I often need her I would love her to just stand there and hold on safely while I am scrubbing her back and I'm, rinsing her down. I'm a fan of this I'm thinking of adding this in a future home. I'm a fan of proactively having the grab bar in the shower be right here. Again, here's another example of a toilet, decorative. Doesn't have to be institutional. The prettier the better. That's no problem there. So I referenced this before. As we get to close out together, I am a fan of this product in so many different ways. It's the Sociavi Digital Health Companion. Please, I will not be able to do it justice in the rest of our time together, but I've given you the top things here. Uncle Fred, we keep talking about. Wouldn't it be fantastic if we could communicate now that we're paying attention to Uncle Fred and he's home alone. We're all gonna kind of navigate together. We've spent Thanksgiving with him. We realize, wow, we got to all lay up more eyes and have more interaction with Uncle Fred. He's our patriarch. We love him. Your family agrees. And you guys get the Sociavi Digital Health Companion. This is a no-touch, 15-inch touch screen that could be set up anywhere in Uncle Fred's home that makes sense, where he could be sitting in his favorite chair and all of a sudden his granddaughter Ellen or his neighbor down the road, we pop up on that screen and we can have communication. It's got a camera, we can upload pictures. There's a speaker if Uncle Frank has got, this is a large speaker, as you notice on the base of this. This is a piece of equipment that has had many reiterations. This is a product that's been on the market for quite some time, but they have nailed it. I've watched their evolution. I support this product. This is a non-sponsored, by the way. I'm not sponsored at all, but I believe in this, and I believe that just having it's multilingual. So there's just again, I can't do it 100% justice, but understand and let me leave you with this. There is app integration for the family and friends. People from church could be, all of a sudden popping up on the screen and having a conversation with Uncle Fred. There's also an application with approval, and it says all HIPAA compliant. Again, you do need to Google this company and visit them yourself. Make your own decision. But healthcare professionals can also be interacting through verbal prompts and with the person who's trying to age in place at home as well, through reminders, medication reminders. Again, do yourself a favor. This is affordable, and the family could all go in on it together for a nominal monthly fee. And you could literally be elevating Uncle Fred on multiple levels as you all band together to keep him safer at home for longer periods of time. Oops, excuse me. A couple other things. These are just miscellaneous. It's not, especially if you have an elder caring for an elder, it's not, my mother had some hearing deficit. We had motion lights. That didn't come to a point where I needed to put this is simple. It's literally the name of the product, SIMPL. You can Google that company name. You can also find it on the Alzheimer's store.com. Just Google that as well. Forgive me, I don't have the websites here, but this is non-techie. It's literally just, and I'm not going to be able to do this one as much justice as I can do the Sociavi product because I'm much more familiar with the Sociavi. But this product as well, easy application to stick the little sensors around, and when your loved one, crosses a path of the light, it'll illuminate the light, while it also can leave again a simple auto tone for the caregiver, who might, in my dad's case, might know, oh, Bob is up and moving. Is everything okay? Again, you want day-night orientation. You want day of the week and maybe the month. There will come a time in a person's journey, no one will care if it's Wednesday at noon for Uncle Frank, because we'll be helping him, But on the front end, as they're struggling with their own understanding of their cognitive decline, having large print. I like the digital because it's easier to see as opposed to navigating at some point the numbers on a face clock. Other things, I have already doing this with my mother. This is not a picture from her room, but I have something similar. I leave notes and reminders. My mother, Millie, who I've talked about now, has frontal lobe deterioration. She can still read. I'm coming over today. I've already put that on her calendar. I'm going to go see her to give her, assist her shower so we can get ready for Thanksgiving later this afternoon. That's on her calendar. She sees that. She knows that. Back to even more just recipes. If your loved one, maybe Uncle Fred was a chef, and we don't need to go all in on completely meal prepping, but maybe we can just have some recipe cards and make things easy, large print that he can read, that he could follow. Again, do you, whatever's best for your family. I'm just giving you some suggestions. I will tell you this. I was purposely looking for an ID bracelet because, once again, I did have a medical ID bracelet on my father. It did have it was an alert if there was any other future ER situations. If we also did send him to adult day at one point, so my mom could get respite. And on the flip side of that, on the underbelly of that just regular old standard ID bracelet, it had my mom's contact number. It did have an identifier that he had dementia. So again, it was useful when he was away from home and my mom couldn't be his voice, to alert any emergency personnel that was attending to him, that, okay, we got somebody with dementia. This is his contact. That's what we did. When I was trying to find a picture of that, y'all, this is amazing. They now have USB drives in. At one point, Real Sharper Image made them, but now I'm seeing you just Google USB safety medical alert. I went down a total rabbit hole as I was getting ready for this. And in so much as this then is an alert, it's obviously a USB. And if I go to the hospital, or that USB just gets plugged into any computer, and it's got all the information, that's it, who to contact, what my diagnoses are. Again, you might question the compliancy, but it is on there. It's not like anyone can access that. It's not web-based or cloud-based. You can only get access to that because it's on this USB. I'm just sharing ideas and suggestions. I don't know. Some people might have problems. Do you? I'm just giving you opportunity to look at what some of the things on the market are. And lastly, as we get ready to close out, I am also a fan of Buck and Buck. Again, non-sponsored. They don't even know I exist, but I have purchased their products. My dad was a guy that loved to wear jeans. In fact, if you've ever been on heard me speak before about the journey of my dad, there was a point where he refused to take off his jeans, and it was making my mom crazy. And she was, as his caregiver, I was getting phone calls how dad would not take off his jeans when he went to bed. And I said, Mom, as long as it's not, let him wear his jeans to bed. It's not hurting him. However, I don't know if this was the reason why he didn't want to take off his jeans, but there came a point where I got him pull-on jeans, if you will. They're absolutely denim material, had the faux Velcro fly in the front, pockets. They look like jeans, you wouldn't know, but it was elastic waistband. And he had those until the end of his life, when he was successful taking those off and on. The all of a sudden wearing jeans to bed dilemma was solved. I'm about to buy these shoes for my mom. It's a Velcro. Is there a slip? It's like an indoor outdoor product. Don't tell her, you guys, but she's about to get these for Christmas. It's indoor outdoor. It's soft cushion. There's an aging feet. Easy on, easy off. It's a slide. It's a Velcro closure. We did that with my dad as well. He had Velcro closure tennis shoes. Just like I said, I'm not sponsored. I just believe in this company because I've used them specifically, and I like to share good news with other people. So here you go. We want our goal. If our goal is to keep our elders safe and secure in a nurturing environment that they are familiar with, you're going to have to be acutely aware and observant of the movement challenges that start to arise. Are there visual changes? Clearly cognitive, disorientation to time and place. These are loss of appetite. Why is that? Because maybe they can't figure out how to make the food anymore. Again, hopefully today I've showed you ways proactively, holistically, that we can get in front of, or at least support these things that are coming down the pike. We want the environment to support safe movement. We want them to stay in comfortable and familiar surroundings. And lastly, I write what I call Kim quotes, and I will read this aloud. This is the last thing as we say goodbye. It's usually, I write these as either from the perspective of somebody living with dementia or from the caregiver. Today, we talk about this one denotes someone living with dementia, and it reads, I have dementia. I may be slowly losing my memory, but I haven't lost my mind. Very different, y'all. Please treat me with respect and we'll get along just fine. If you've liked what you've heard today, please take pictures of the QR codes. You can find me at our website. You can also Google Keep in Mind Inc. There is an INC at the end. You can follow me on LinkedIn. I am quite active, and I encourage you to keep your eye on the Learn QR code as well. That Kim Academy is evergreen and ever growing. I will continue to be, 2024 is the year of the Kim Academy. It is the place where we are elevating the global dementia IQ one person at a time. Thanks for the time today, Steve. I know I always go a little over, but I really appreciate the opportunity.
Fantastic, Ellen. We'll have you back again, and I can't look, we were looking forward to the next time. So this is great. Again, happy Thanksgiving, everyone. And join us next time when Meredith Mull is going to be doing a presentation on HIPAA. She did one a while back, and she has one coming up next time. So with that, questions. I know we did go a little over, but if anyone has a question for Ellen, in the chat box, or go ahead and ask it. We'll take a few minutes here.
Sure, absolutely. I'll let you read that. I guess
Yeah.
open it.
Any questions, anyone?
Oh. Well, that's rare.
If you have questions, reach out to Ellen. This recording will be on my website, on her website, on YouTube. So there's plenty of places to see and watch this again and connect with her. So with that, we'll say thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, everybody.